A Palo Alto teen hired straight out of high school by Google as a PhD-level software engineer, yet he was rejected by most colleges he applied to.
Up next, we'll run through some quick hits, some stories that came across my desk that I want to share with you guys. Up first, this insane story of discrimination against an Asian American shows why America is turning against DEI madness. Take a listen to coverage from ABC 7 in California.
You may recall the ABC 7 story that went viral 16 months ago. A Palo Alto teen hired straight out of high school by Google as a PhD-level software engineer, yet he was rejected by most colleges he applied to, including 5 UC campuses, even with a 4.4 GPA and a 1590 out of 1600 on the SATs.
Some of them were certainly expected, Stanford, MIT, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, for some of them, like Cal Poly, some of the state schools, I really thought, I had a good chance.
His name, Stanley Jong, and he and his father just filed a lawsuit against the University of California and the U.S. Department of Education. The Jongs allege that UC is engaging in racial discrimination in admissions despite the law banning the use of race in the process.
So this is insane. And it's why I get so annoyed when people hit me with the, how could anyone be against DEI? Don't you like diversity and inclusion? Yeah, babe, but that's not the problem. The problem is that in the name of DEI, they've pushed all this toxic, discriminatory, divisive nonsense that, in the case of Asian Americans, literally led to them being systematically discriminated against and punished for their success in higher education admissions, like this young man seemingly was. Now, to be clear, sounds like he's doing better having gotten hired as a PhD level engineer at Google rather than spending all that money to go to one of these colleges, but he should not have been discriminated against if that is what happened, and sure does seem like it. And the fact that these colleges are so blind to merit, they would turn away ultra qualified people because they're Asian Americans so they can what? Have more diversity on a brochure? It just shows you it's a microcosm of everything that's gone wrong with DEI and the rise of this kind of left-wing identitarianism in America, and why there is such a real and widespread and by and large well-intentioned backlash to it that is not about being racist or opposing diversity or not wanting people included in society. No, it's exactly about wanting that and wanting equality under the law, wanting America to be a home for everyone where we have a meritocracy, and not wanting disgusting, horrible policies like what happened to this young man and so many others, all in the name of promoting diversity. Up next, this toxic woke journalist just hit a new low. So President Trump honored a young woman at his congressional speech who had been brutally injured as a result of being forced to play against a biologically male competitor in a volleyball match. She suffered lasting brain damage. The Trump White House's rapid response account shared footage of this and said, 19-year-old Peyton McNabb was severely injured by a man during a volleyball game, left with a traumatic brain injury after he spiked the ball against her head. President Trump was proud to sign an executive order to keep men out of women's sports. To which Emma Vigilant, very popular left-wing commentator and YouTube host, wrote, ha 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 ha. What is wrong with her? Maybe you disagree on the trans sports issue, though I think Trump has common sense on his side on that one, but you really are laughing at a girl who suffered a traumatic brain injury? That's demented! Where is your compassion and your empathy? Even if maybe you could even make an argument like, oh, well, this could have happened against a female competitor, people get injured playing sports, but you don't have to laugh at somebody who suffered. This is not a good look. This does not help you beat the unhinged allegations, Emma. To be so glib and so callous about an issue where people have very genuine concerns about safety and fairness is really, really gross. And you can be progressive, you can have a different position on this issue, but you should never, ever let it corrode your soul like this. It's really, really reprehensible. Up next, Trump's Commerce Secretary just said something kind of wild on TV. Take a listen.
Tariffs are going to drive America better. Remember, we pay taxes into the Internal Revenue Service. Wouldn't it be amazing to stop paying taxes to the Internal Revenue Service and have the External Revenue Service of Make America Great Again replace our taxes? That's the goal of Donald Trump, and I think he's going to hit there. He's going to do everything he can to make that happen.
Hey, so this is kind of delusional. Even if you think that the US could feasibly replace its income taxes with tariffs, which there's been analysis of this, the math does not add up. You could simply not raise enough revenue with tariffs to fund our current size of government or even a much smaller one. Back when the US did fund its government with tariffs, the government was like a tiny fraction of the size that it is today. And basically none of the expensive social programs that Trump promises he won't cut existed. But even if you were to somehow replace the traditional system of taxation and the IRS with tariffs and an external revenue service, that is not some like magic utopian discovery that you've hit on, babe, where, oh, well, now we can have our whole government funded and Americans don't have to pay for anything. You know, they have to pay the cost of the tariff, at least a huge part of it. Right? When you put tariffs on other countries, what you're actually doing is taxing goods that enter the country. A large percentage of the cost of that gets passed on to the consumer. That is not disputed by any serious economists, even ones that support tariffs. In fact, even the tariff theory behind how they are supposed to work relies on the idea that they will enable higher prices domestically, aka costing consumers money. You can't just fund it externally. And even if you did believe that tariffs are actually all paid by the country that is hit with them, well, guess what? When we put tariffs on other countries, they respond and tariff us too. Canada's already doing that. So even by your own logic, Americans would still have to pay. There is no such thing as a free lunch. And I understand that a lot of Republicans have the hots for tariffs lately, although they're flip-flopping on their position on that they've held for decades. But even if you support them, which I don't gaslight us and try to tell us that we can have everything we need and no one's going to have to pay for it. That's delusional. And it's just bizarre to see the sitting Commerce Secretary of the United States spewing such utter economic illiteracy. Up next, a new woke resistance tactic just dropped. Take a look at this funny video.
Most effective form of protest you have right now that you can start immediately: put a mask back on. Stop letting them observe your face and have the side benefit of better health and protecting the rest of us in the world. Put a mask back on.
I think I speak for most Americans when I say that we do not particularly care to observe your face or not. And I think we might have slightly different definitions of what the word effective in effective protests means. Because if y'all go and put on your little masks, your little face diapers again as part of a protest, not, and I'm excluding from this, people with rare autoimmune conditions or compromised immune systems who might actually need to do it for their own health, just the woke virtue signalers who do this, that is not an effective protest, babe, because nobody else is going to be affected or notice besides looking at you a little funny. Like, oh no, how will Trump ever recover that the barista at Starbucks has a cloth face mask on again? I just cannot take these people seriously. But please, knock yourself out. And make sure it's a political mask too. Make sure you put like Kamala or like a rainbow flag or something on it so we know that you're not one of the rare people with an autoimmune condition, that you're just one of the woke virtue signalers. Because then it actually would be useful. Still wouldn't be an effective protest, but it would be useful because then we can know who to stay away from, honestly. But yeah, keep on resisting. You're doing amazing. It's all going great for y'all. Up next, some Democrats don't care about that whole democracy thing anymore, I guess. Take a listen to what Maxine Waters, the Democratic Congresswoman, just said.
And we don't know everything that Elon Musk has done with his high technology ass. We don't know what he's being accused of by some as it may relate to the election. But we're not going to give up in investigating.
Yes, this sitting Democratic Congresswoman actually just suggested that Elon Musk may have hacked the last election to rig it for Trump. Babe, you need to touch grass. There is literally no evidence behind this deranged theory. And I, for one, am old enough to remember the years the Democrats spent bleeding about how they were the side that believed in democracy and didn't question election results. So much for that, I guess, at least as far as this one congresswoman is concerned. And to be clear, it's actually not just the one congresswoman. At least at the institutional level, the party doesn't really care about these values because they literally funded election-denying Republican candidates in Republican primaries because they thought they'd be easier to beat. That's right, the DCCC, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee funded election-denying Trump Republican candidates to beat moderates because they thought they might have a better chance of beating them in general elections. They don't care about these values. At least some of the people in the political class don't. And I've said for a long time, the Republicans who think the 2020 election was stolen, it's also wrong. There's also not evidence. It's also been debunked and failed every time they tried to prove it in court. People have to stop grasping at straws. Like, sometimes y'all lose. And it's not all a big conspiracy and stolen and rigged, and y'all just increasingly sound delulu. All right, everybody, that'll be it for this episode of the Brad vs. Everyone podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please do make sure you're subscribed if you aren't yet. Do hit that like button before you go, and do comment with your thoughts. I do read the comments, and I love hearing what you guys have to say. And with that, we'll talk again real soon.